Well, here it is. This is the big day. We're going to tear apart this little corner workbench area and completely revamp it to make it a little more pleasant to work in, aesthetically pleasing, and better suited for video. What I decided to do is use this dark faux brick paneling as a backdrop. It'll do a number of things. It'll control the light reflection. It'll add a visually pleasing backdrop. And I like it. Plus, it's inexpensive. I originally was just going to do this one wall, and then I decided, well, actually, I got carried away, and I went all the way around, and then I even put a little partition in. But I'm completely happy with it. Now here you see I'm starting to put down the floor trim. This ceramic tile I put down under all the sinks and the doorways and such, and bathroom in this barn. And I'm trimming it with this pine furring strips. This is a 1x4. And here I'm just using a little math to calculate the angle. It didn't come out exactly 45 degrees because that wall partition is not exactly dimensionally symmetric with this tile. It came out to 47 degrees. But that's what math is for. And if you don't know how to do that, just Google it. I mean, you just say, how do I calculate X on a triangle? And it will help you walk through it. Anyway, you guys have seen me put down this kind of floor before. Basically, it's just 1x4 furring strips. I toenail it in. It's glued down to the subfloor. It's supposed to look old and rustic, and I think it achieves that. The thing is, when I built this bench, it's built in place, and removing it was not an option. So I have to work around all these legs and things, and it's been a pain. But, you know, it's the way things happen sometimes. You don't always build something in sequence. Anyway, there it is. There's the pine. Now here I'm using a pecan stain. I like the pecan stain because it brings out that old yellow pine look that you get with old aged pine wood. And I'm just slathering this on with a plain old brush. Just working it in real good and then letting it dry. Now, if you looked at my art studio build, you'll see that I built a transition between the art studio and the entranceway to it, and I used a darker stain to kind of highlight that. I've done that elsewhere in the barn into the machine shop, and I like the look. It kind of gives a nice transition from one area to another. And this stain is called Jacobine. It's a Minwax stain. It's a real dark stain. It looks black right now, but it will look like a dark charcoal once you wipe off the excess. It just you know, the thing is, everybody builds their workshop the way that it pleases them. And to me, I like the visual appeal of a demarcation between one area and another. And my barn has got a number of different areas besides the main bay. There's a welding area and the machine shop and electronics lab and the whole bit. Now the staining and finishing of this floor accounted for almost a week's work. You know, once you put the floor down, then you can stain it, but then you have to wait 24 hours for the stain to completely cure. And then you put down a wash coat, and I let that set for 24 hours. And then I put down 2 coats of varnish or polyurethane. And I let the last coat set for about 4 days. Now here, this is the wash coat. I'm using a polyacrylic, which is a water-based sanding sealer. And it's a little less fumy, so it isn't annoying to work with. Okay, so now we're back on the bench, and we're starting to put the things back in place. I originally had 2 sinks here, and I took out one of the sinks and replaced it with this. This is actually both sinks combined into one, and I'll explain that someday. The idea here is I want to put a washing machine out here. I have a washing machine in the garage at the house, and it's for work clothes, things that are really nasty, dirty. You wouldn't want to put in your washing machine for your good clothes. So I'm bringing it out here, and I have to get rid of one of these sinks. Now these shelves are 2x8s and 2x10s and 2x8s with an edge of oak. And of course we have the TV stand. Now if you notice the ceiling, that's actually the underside of the mezzanine. And I painted it almost a black color to help control light. Again, I'm trying to redo this so that the barn is better suited for shooting these videos. Here I'm putting in the air supply for this workbench area. It actually has two regulators on it, and I'll explain those later. But I'm using shark bites to link the regulator manifold to the bus, or the main air trunk line. On the left side of the screen, you can see what the entrance to my shop looks like right now. I've got everything out there, out of the way. It's just a teetotal mess. You know, when you tear apart part of your barn to redo it, you got to put the stuff somewhere. I hope you appreciate the humor in this sign. I thought it was cute. If you don't, sorry, but I still think it's cute. You'll see why I like it in a minute. Read closely. Okay, now here is the washing machine. This is a commercial washer that I got from a friend. They were placing it in the laundromat. It's an old washer, but it works just fine. It's not fancy or complicated, but it's real heavy duty. And there is my old trusty drill press. You can see my TV working up there. You know, I always like to listen to the news, and I'm not so much a news junkie, but I do like to listen when I'm working on things. Sometimes I like to listen to music, but most of the times I like to have the news playing in the background, which means I have to be careful with these YouTube videos because then you get copyright strikes. This is an old craftsman named Kennedy toolbox. I've had it for at least 35 years. I don't even know how long I've had it. It's done. Welcome to my workshop. This is the first in a series of videos on rehabbing or remodeling my workshop. This barn was built about 9 years ago as storage and an occasional place to work out of the weather. It's a standard post and beam pole barn, concrete slab, nothing fancy. After a couple years of using it in the winter, I decided that I really needed to insulate it and heat it so I could use it more frequently. So I insulated the thing, I put OSB on all the walls and ceiling, and it worked much better. But it was still a nasty cold barn, concrete floors, very, very unpleasant, even in the winter, hard to heat, just an unpleasant place to work. Well, about 5 years ago, I decided that I wanted to make it better, so I covered all the walls in drywall. I put down a subfloor over the concrete with the intention of putting a better wood floor on top of that. And that was a nice beginning of a project, but it was still kind of an unpleasant environment to work. A couple years ago, my daughter had asked if she could have an art studio, the corner of the pole barn for an art studio. And so we built that for her. And that's in the video somewhere here, left or right, I don't know. Anyway, long story short, when it was done, she suggested that my barn needed to be updated. It was still a barn. It was comfortable, it was heated, and I have air conditioning, but it was still a barn. Well, about that time, I started shooting some YouTube videos, and I thought, you know, the barn is really not well suited for shooting video. It's great to work in. I don't mind spilling stuff on the floor or making smoky messes, but it's still a barn, and it's difficult to shoot in here because of the sound, the lighting, plus the environment. It's just a mess. So I decided that I would do a complete rehab on the barn, and this is the result. This is the beginning of it. This is the workbench area. I chose it because you need a workbench to work out of, and modifying and changing the shop, the bench is going to come in handy. I need the sink, drill press, all the amenities to at least set up a place to work. And it seemed like a great place to start. It's the most complicated area because of the plumbing and the electrical and all the changes I had to make over here. So, without further ado, I'm blathering on. Let me introduce you to it. We have a washing machine, which is an old washing machine from a laundromat that was given to me. I use it to clean my work clothes. When I'm working in the yard or something, I can wash them out here, and I don't have to worry about damaging the wife's washer. Of course, we have a shop sink. We have the bench you've seen. Also, we have a drill press. It's an old Harbor Freight, but I've had it for 10, 12 years. It's been a great tool. It's not a great drill press, but it drills holes pretty straight. Let me show you a little bit more detail. Now, one of the nice things about this is the lights back here. You can't see them right now, but when I walk into an area, I use occupancy sensors. So when I walk up here to the washing machine, the lights will come on, and they'll stay on as long as I'm there. When I walk away, about a minute or two later, they'll shut off, which is really convenient. I don't have to worry about turning the lights on, and I don't have to worry about shutting them off, which is something I do frequently. If I go over here to the drill press area, same thing. They light up. You notice the workbench hasn't come on yet, but when I get over here to the workbench, they come on. It's just a convenience thing. These have always been here. I haven't added them for this project. I've always had them. I like them. I use them every place, just so I don't have to fumble around with light switches. They're convenient. I can still turn them off if I want, but they work good. Okay, let's go a quick rundown. Now, you've seen the washer earlier. I have the water heater. It runs on propane. The tank down there I bought, according to the sticker on it, it was filled in 2015. So it lasts a long time on a 20-pound cylinder. Of course, you've seen the sink go in. This is a cheap Amazon faucet. It's got a head here. You can shut that off. You got a spray head, or you could run both if you want. You can lock the spray head on. It's just a nice, convenient. It's just a nice, convenient thing. I have a lift station or a sump, and its job is to get the water away from the sink and the washing machine and get it over to the septic line. The problem is when this building was built, I never planned to do any of this. And right now we're about in the middle of the building. So there's no plumbing, no drains or anything. So the water drains from the sink and it's lifted 12 feet up, runs across the ceiling over to the west corner, and drops back down another 12 feet, and that feeds into the septic line. So that's how I solved that problem. This is my air regulator for this area. I have two regulators. The main trunk feeds in. There's a pressure gauge for it. This regulator feeds air back to my garage on the house, so I don't have to have a compressor up there. I keep it set at 75 psi for airing up tires and things like that. This regulator here is not connected to anything on the bench because I don't know what I want to do yet. And as you can see, the bench has got no tools, or a couple of tools. I'm probably going to go ahead and put screwdrivers and wrenches and pliers and things like that, most commonly needed hand tools, right at arm's reach. A couple of shelves. I have my TV. You all know I like to watch TV. If you've watched any of my videos, that thing is on somewhere. I have just a weather station. And of course we have this old Harbor Freight drill press. Works good. I mean, it's a cheap drill press, but it works. It's better than no drill press. As you can see, the chair rolls nicely around. It's a very comfortable place to work. Now this is just the beginning of my barn rehab series. I'm going to do all the different areas. I have a welding area, I have a tool room, I have a machine shop, electronics lab, a small office. I have a storage room where I have parts, I call it stores. And of course I'm putting in a drafting area and a small lounge area with a refrigerator and a microwave and a couple of comfortable chairs. These are all coming, but this is the initial project to get the whole thing rolling. Now I have some other projects that I've been putting off that need to be done, and I will get them done. A couple of the projects are due in April, so I got to get those done. But in the meantime, I'll be working on the welding station next because I'm going to need that pretty soon. And that's got to be completely rehabbed like this. Not as fancy. What's important is I maintain my functionality. I mean, this is pretty, but it's also very comfortable to work here. It's like walking into a room in your house. It's just soothing. The walls are darker so I don't get reflected light. These lights overhead, they're in the way right now, but I have a shroud that I'm making for them. And basically it's just a piece of plastic sewer pipe that slides up over like that and directs the light down. I've got to cut them and shape them. I'll show you that later on. But that will block all the light. Something like that. That's not what I'm going to do, but that's something like that. Anyway, if you can see this red tube, this is my dust collection system. It runs through the entire perimeter of the barn and into a couple of other rooms. That's what it is. I'll show you that later too. Anyway, this is all you're going to see today. This is my workshop. Welcome. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Stay tuned if you really want to see how I'm going to do this. The workshop is going to be a beautiful place to work. 100% functionality with a little style thrown in just to make it cool. Thank you again. Like it, subscribe it, send me comments, make suggestions of what I should do here. Because honestly, building this was not as hard as trying to figure out how I'm going to organize it. So, that's it. Thank you.
Are you videotaping still? You good? No, don't put your fingers in front of it, honey. All right, hit stop. All right, hit stop.